John Montgomery, the owner of several luxury properties across the city, stepped up to a dilapidated, run-down apartment on Lexington Avenue. He had come with the intention of firing a maid, a woman who had dared to refuse his inappropriate advances, but something unexpected met him at the door. Instead of employees or cleaners, 3 frightened children opened the door, staring at him as if he were death itself. The youngest of them, 6-year-old Liam, clung to his expensive trousers with trembling hands and pleaded in a whisper barely audible, "Please don't take our mommy away." John hesitated, momentarily confused, unaccustomed to being confronted by raw human vulnerability. Inside, the apartment smelled of dampness, fatigue, and something indescribably heavy, the scent of a life stretched to its breaking point. On a thin, worn-out mattress lay sleeping Jennifer Harris, 34 years old, a black-haired widow who worked as a maid in multiple buildings just to keep her children fed. There was a framed photo of her late husband on the wall, a firefighter who had died in the line of duty. Around her were piles of unpaid bills, prescription bottles, and children's homework. She slept fully dressed in her work uniform, the exhaustion etched deeply into her face, as if the world itself had abandoned her. John, 40 years old, had long stopped seeing people as human beings. To him, they were resources, assets, numbers, and spreadsheets. His idea of success was measured in square footage, rental yields, and profit margins. His marriage had been nothing more than a transaction, and his divorce had left him with everything, except anyone who actually cared for him as a person. Jennifer had originally been hired through a cleaning agency. Her professionalism, pride, and quiet independence had both irritated and fascinated John. She never flirted with him, never tried to impress, and never bowed her head, something most people around him did. When she refused his improper request, he grew furious. He wasn't used to being denied, and so he decided to fire her. But what he saw in that tiny apartment shifted something deep inside him. He saw her not as a disobedient maid, but as a mother desperately fighting for survival. She had lost her husband. She was raising 3 children alone. She was drowning in poverty, yet she still held onto her dignity like armor. For a moment, John felt ashamed of himself, a rare and uncomfortable feeling. He quietly left the apartment that day without saying a word. That night he couldn't sleep. He kept picturing the children's eyes, the small hands clutching him in fear, the photograph of a fallen hero, the weary woman asleep beside bills she couldn't pay. He thought about his own life, the empty penthouse, the cold marble floors, the silence echoing through rooms full of expensive art. He had wealth but no warmth, power but no purpose. The next morning, he asked his assistant to arrange a private meeting with Jennifer. She came to his office in Upper Manhattan, nervous, expecting the worst. Instead of firing her, he looked her straight in the eyes and, for the first time in years, spoke not as a businessman but as a human being. He offered her a new position, project manager for a social housing initiative, a role that paid 20 times her previous salary, with full health benefits, childcare support, and even proper housing for her and her children. She was stunned. She didn't say yes immediately. She asked questions. Would the project be transparent? Would the housing actually help the poor, not just be another PR stunt? Would quality be a priority, not greed? John listened, and he agreed to all her terms. The weeks that followed were difficult. His business partners mocked him. Investors threatened to pull funding. Competitors spread rumors. People doubted Jennifer's abilities, calling her just a maid. But she proved them wrong. She stayed up late reviewing blueprints. She met with families in shelters, asked what they really needed, and designed buildings with play areas, natural light, libraries, communal kitchens, places that felt like home. Slowly, one building at a time, the social housing project transformed from a fantasy into a miracle. John began spending more time on site, listening, learning. For the first time, he saw his city not in terms of profit but people. He saw children playing in safe courtyards, seniors smiling on clean balconies, mothers who no longer feared eviction. He saw hope where he used to see only statistics. And as days turned into months, his respect for Jennifer grew into something deeper. It wasn't infatuation or desire. It was admiration. A love built not on power but on equality. She never asked for his money. She demanded something harder. His integrity, his humanity. With her he found both. 2 years later, the Harlem Housing Project became a national model. Journalists came from all over to film the miracle of affordable homes that looked like luxury apartments, filled with real families who had never had such dignity before. Jennifer was awarded Architect of the Year, not because she had a formal degree, but because she had redefined what it meant to build. At the ceremony, John stood at the back of the hall, not seeking credit. He watched as she accepted the award, her children in the front row cheering. He realized something profound. True wealth is not what you keep for yourself, but what you give to others. Money had built his empire, but compassion had finally given his life meaning.